Hey, welcome and join your blended family, all the B-fams out there. It is time to party. I am so glad you tuned in.
Yeah.
Let's get this party started. Have you ever heard one of those songs too? I think where were we at? It was a song. We were out to lunch on vacation, and there was this one song, and you know, I'm sorry if you like those, but it was just like,
It was as if the record got stuck.
Yeah, it's like go hit the record player or something, y'all, because it is like it's hard to eat my taco right now.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was just very loud, I guess.
It was very loud, and you know, some of those things mess with you mentally.
Oh,
and
I see
so
how
it just
you're
did you
taking
see
a
how I did
shift
that?
there. Yeah.
I just shifted. I segued right into what we're talking about
First, you just
today.
completely derailed this episode, and then decided
Pulled it back
to bring it back in.
It's a boomerang.
This episode today is a topic that I see all over social media platforms when people are complaining about step family issues, and that is the dividing up the household chores and the mental load that often falls on the shoulders of the woman, but that's not always the case. But that's usually where I see most of the complaint coming from. So today we're going to talk about how to maybe push past that so that by the end of this, you and your spouse and your family are working together as a team and not allowing these day-to-day things that have to be done cause division in your household.
That's right. We're going to get you in the same jersey. Same jersey, same team is going to happen.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Y'all stay tuned. This is going to be good.
Oh, okay. All right. No. So as he was pausing that episode, I thought you were saying same jersey, same team. And I just had this realization that I actually only painted one side of my nails.
Oh, wow. You did.
And I was just talking with my hands a lot. And I was like, crap, I put my hands up. And I forgot that I only painted half my nails last night.
So your hands are on different teams.
They're on different teams.
But, you know, you could have just went with that and been like, that's the thing. That's what you do.
This is the women's mental load, and this is the man's.
One's bright and fluffy, and the other one's like,
Nothing.
Just a hand. Nothing. So why is mental load? What first describe what is mental load for those who this might be their first time hearing that?
Okay, well, I'll break up the two necessarily. So there's our household chores, which are the tasks and everything that needs to be done. That's more on the forefront that you know it needs to be done, or the things that the actual physical act of doing it, washing the dishes, doing the laundry, cutting the grass, taking out the trash, taking the kids to school, the actual physical thing of going and doing it. A lot of that's your household chores. But then you have this mental load of all the responsibility that also needs to be done. Just thinking about having to do the laundry, when you're going to fit it in, the kids' extracurricular activities and how you're going to get them from here to there on this day because, you know, someone has a meeting and this person's supposed to be at cheer practice, but this one is supposed to be at band, and all the things that all the birthday parties and the plannings of that, the family vacations, the anniversary trips, the budget for your household, all of these things that are in the back of your head 24/7, and where it makes it so hard to shut it off. It's a lot of the reason why people have trouble sleeping at night. It causes just a lot of high stress for a lot of people that are carrying the bulk of the mental load in their family. And again, what you see most of the time is it falls on one person, and that one person is usually the female in the house. So it may be mom, stepmom in the household. Even if she doesn't have her own biological children, it kind of just becomes expected that she is the female. She's the woman. It's her job to do these things and take care of all of these details, even if she's working outside of the home. I'm just not even putting a comma or a period or taking a breath, because you can see how intense.
I'm just saying, wow, that is, I mean, I can feel the mental load from you
coming, yes,
right there. But you can sit there and look at it as if all the ladies all the single ladies.
They're not single.
Okay, no, they're not single.
He tried.
All the married ladies. All right. Okay. Now, if all the ladies in blended families not only are taking the day-to-day mental load stuff, the day-to-day tasks, the chores, the got-tos, the need-tos, and stuff like that, but then you put in all the step-family drama on top of that, you put all that, and it just really expands that load in a lady's mind. And so all of our ladies are just running around like overstressed and overloaded and overworked and just trying to juggle everything on their plates.
Well, and because they're doing all of these things, they're not getting the appreciation for the things that they're doing. A lot of times they can't interact and discipline in a way that they would, you're the one doing all the things, but then when you get the attitude from the kid that doesn't want to do it, but you're supposed to sit back and be quiet and not say anything and let the other parent, their biological parent, be the one to say things. And then a lot of times you get the kickback from their biological parent, the co-parent, the ex, whatever, on that side, that you're not doing it right or good enough, or you get the kickback from the kids that you're not doing it. So there's just a lot of pressure. And then, so like you were saying, you're juggling all the things that have to be done, but now you feel like you're failing and you're not getting it right. So you have that extra stress on top of that is, okay, do I say this? Do I not say this? Do I interact this way? Do I close myself off? Am I going to step on someone's toes? Like, I feel like I don't even belong here. So then you have that constantly going in the back of your head too. That's a lot of stress.
That is a lot going on. And
you probably need to see a therapist.
Maybe so. I think we all need to see therapists at all the time. But, I can't say that guys don't go through that either, though, especially husbands, stepdads, things of that nature. I think we, it's the difference between man and woman on how women are so good at multitasking and, being able to take on multiple things at once and still making sense out of all of it, to where as guys, we're not good at that. So whenever we get multiple things, it just really breaks down in our heads and it's like, I can only focus on one thing at a time. Let me just, and so I'll zone in on, we'll zone in on one thing and we'll let the rest go, which is not always healthy to do either, right? Yeah. But I think as far as from a guy's standpoint, I don't think we always know how to talk about it or how to discuss it. And then I think sometimes it's, as a guy, we don't feel like we should, or it like almost, what's the word, where it takes away from who we are. Like, we're the men. We're supposed to have it all together. We're supposed to be able to take care of our families. And so if there's a problem or something like that, if I admit that, then I'm a weaker man. Mm-hmm. And so, it's kind of those fronts that we'll put up just because of how society's kind of trained men in a sense, that I think we're all trying to become more aware of, saying, no, that's dumb. We're all human. Men are human. And, we don't always have it all together, but the more that we talk about it, the more we can have it all together. But yeah, so I think we deal with it on a different level a lot of times, but I do think, there are certain fathers out there that are more involved and there are some that aren't more involved. And so it's just, I think there's a big difference.
Well, and I think probably the different things that we carry as our mental load is also part of that. I think the things that we carry as our mental load differ as well for men and women. And like I say you, but men a lot of times carry that responsibility of the finances and, being able to make sure that your family is provided for and they're safe and they're secure. And then that's something that a female might not stress as much about. They don't have the weight of that, but the females are more emotionally intelligent, making sure their kids feel loved and accepted. And so we're carrying these different mental loads as well, and we don't always express that. And then some people, I think, also are just a little more high strung is not the word, but they take on a lot more than necessary. And like I was saying before, it's like they take it on like it's a badge of honor of, I do all of this. It's all, I'm taking it all on. You see it as a pride thing because you can. You're a better mom. You're a better wife if you take on all of these responsibilities, when in reality, being able to share and be open with your spouse and even with your kids when they, at age appropriate, and let them take on some of these responsibilities as well for themselves, and being able to release that. And we get to choose to release that or not, if we want to just hold on and let it cause, it can cause us physical stress, like the, physical element to our bodies when we hold it all in, emotional, mental, all of it gets affected by it.
One, it can be a freeing thing once we know that, hey, we can let some of this go and know how to let it go, I think is a big thing, because we do live in a world that is so fast paced now it's almost funny. We sit here and we complain about how long things take. And so we create these systems and we create technology to make things so much easier and faster and efficient for us. And so now we got that to free up time. So what do? We fill up that time with more stuff. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, we're needing new systems for all the stuff we added. And so that's kind of where we're all running around, we're just so loaded down and bogged down on so many things that, we kind of have done it to ourselves. Yeah. But it's so easy in the culture that we live in to fall into this trap and to be able to unload some of this. Because really, I think the overall theme on why this is such an important topic is because if both of us, husband and wife, are running around stressed out, mentally loaded, that we don't feel like we're able to manage everything, and we're barely keeping it all together without it falling apart, how are we going to be able to be intimate together? How are we going to be able to work on our relationship? How are we going to be able to build that relationship with our stepkid? How are we going to be able to even make sure that our biological kids have what they need? How are we going to be able to prioritize our family unit to make sure that they have what they need emotionally and physically and things of that, to where we're being able to keep that as a priority? Whenever we're so loaded down, all that gets shoved to the side, and that's the most important thing. And so now our whole family's starting to fall apart. We're all pushing back and frustrated with each other, and you just start seeing all these negative things happening whenever it all comes down to looking at myself and saying, okay, I am loaded up. I've got to be able to shed some of this, or I got to be able to deal with some of this. What do I do? Yeah, for sure. And that's all of that. You have to be able to talk about it, because if you don't, when things are going undone, those are the little things every single day that are creating these wedges in between those different relationships. And they still have to be done. And it can just, when you are shut off and not talking about it, it's just pulling your relationship further and further apart. So in just a minute, now that we have just laid it all out there, we're going to help break down just a few things, a few pointers that you can walk away today with and say, okay, what can me and my spouse do so that we don't let this be an issue in our family? That's right. So y'all stay tuned.
Hey, have you heard of Get Out Pass? I hadn't either. I saw it on a friend's social media, and I had to immediately look to see if my state had it, because she lives in a different state than me. I was like, oh heck yeah, where can we sign up? If you are home for the summer and looking for things to do, you want to get yourself a Get Out Pass. You pay one time for each of your family members, a one-time fee, and it gets you in to all of these places around your community for free. It is so worth it. When I heard about this, I began to look into it, and I was like, are you kidding me? It costs this much to get into every single one of these places. This is thousands of dollars that we are saving, and now we have the opportunity, because of the one time that we paid, to get into all of these places. These are water parks, climbing places, jumping places, arts and craft areas, boardwalks,
theme parks, type activities. Then I took that list and I sent it to all of my kids and asked them, hey, which one of these things do you want to do? Now I have plans all summer long, even with my adultish children. And of course the grandbaby. These bigger cities are partnered with Get Out passes. So go and check now, see if you have a city nearby that allows you to use this pass, and then get it for your family. It will pay for itself in 1 to 2 visits, I promise you. And if you're part of our blended family community, use the code BFAM and you get 30% off. You buy it one time and you have all year to go to all of these places one time. Go get it, sign your family up, and do not sit at home this summer with all them kids. Get out the house and make some memories.
All right, so now that we've explained the importance of and what even is.
I don't even think we had to explain. I think people are like, dang, I get you. I feel that.
Yes.
Holy smokes, that's where I'm at. Hands raised. What in the world do I do? Well, good thing for you that you're listening right now, because we have 3 ways to help. So it's really just kind of 3 points that we're going to share, and let this kind of sink in. Take it, think about it, talk with your spouse about it, and start working through some of these things. And we guarantee that whenever you do, that you will find more peace, you'll find more freedom at the other side of it.
Yeah, for sure. And this first piece of advice we give for almost everything when it comes to relationships, and that is communicate. Communicate, communicate. This is something that is so vital, especially when it comes to how your family is operating and these household chores that you have, and the mental load that comes along with that. There are things that kind of just go unspoken. And I was listening to a podcast a while back, and I was listening to this lady talk about this, and I was like, yeah, I never really thought about these tasks that we have that go unspoken. We just dill them out to the people in the family, and like, this is what
we
you
expect them to do.
Yeah, this is what I do, this is what you do, and we kind of just expect it. And it could be a problem or it could not be a problem, but we don't ever actually discuss it. So like in our household, I pretty much am responsible for cooking the food, buying the food from the grocery store, and just making sure that we eat. That's one that I take it on myself to make sure that Randall has lunch each day. And I was reading this conversation inside of a blended family like Facebook forum, and the woman was kind of complaining about the fact that she didn't have lunch for her husband, and so he left upset with her because she didn't have his lunch out for him. And she's like, is that my responsibility? And so I was responding on there because honestly, and like what I was explaining to her is it your job necessarily to make sure your grown husband who has 2 hands and knows how to cook or provide food for himself, is it your job to make sure that he eats every day? No. But if you've taken on the task of making sure there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, and that is a thing that he comes to expect, and if he wakes up in the morning, has a certain amount of time allotted before he has to be out the door, and then he steps into the kitchen and there's nothing for lunch and there's nothing prepared, there's no bread for a sandwich, whatever, to throw something together, and you always take care of that, and now he's in this moment of like, well, crap, what am I going to do? And so maybe he doesn't have time to go grab lunch that day. So is it your responsibility? Not necessarily, but if you take it on every day and then you let it slip through the cracks that day for whatever reason, then it does fall on you. Like, you know, that's a point that maybe you should, I'm sorry, like, hey, look, I completely, you know, the baby was up all night. I was like,
let me give you some lunch money.
Here's some lunch money. Or just let them know ahead of time, you know.
Well, you know, and it's one of those things to where it's the expectations, the unspoken expectations is basically what it is. I know that, you know, just in our relationship, you've done that, and you've always taken over that. And there have been some times that, you were too busy or something, like, say, for in the morning, you always do a great job of just having breakfast and everything prepared, because I am more on a time crunch in the morning. And so you've done really well at kind of taking that on. But then there might be a day or that you've just been busy and weren't able to get to it. And then I run out the door and I forget. I'm not even thinking about it. And then I remember being in a meeting before and my stomach's growling. I'm like, crap, I shouldn't be hungry already. What in the world? And it's like, wait, I didn't eat breakfast. That's so weird. And so it's one of those that, just out of your kindness and taking that on, had you not, I wouldn't have put in so much focus in on it, and I'd be a lot more hungrier than I normally would have been. So yeah.
I remember that day, and then he was like, "Oh, I didn't eat breakfast." And
I was like, "That's weird. I didn't even think about it."
And it is like if I'm going to be out of town, I try to make it a point that I purchase things that he can cook easily, or I cook something that's going to have leftovers, even though he likes to still go out and get some fast food or whatever, because it's just him here. But that's a task that I have taken on. Randall has never said to me, make me a sandwich, woman. You better have dinner on the table ready at this time. It's just something that I took on myself, and we have kind of just fallen into a routine, and I don't mind. There are times where it's a little stressful, like maybe I ended up out later with my friends or with the kids, and I'm thinking in my head, like, Randall's at home, he doesn't have food, I need to send him a text, or maybe my phone died and I'm telling Riley, send your dad a text, let him know we're on our way, or I'm gonna cook still. And I do allow that mental load to weigh on me, because I know that that's just a responsibility that I've taken on. Just like he mows the grass, I don't ever think about, let me go mow that. Well, I mean, there are times I do it to try to help you out or whatever, but it's not a discussion that we had. So there's these things that are unspoken that we just fall into naturally, and we're okay with it. But maybe those things you fell into naturally, you're not okay with, and it's gone unspoken. So let's just lay it all out. Let's talk about these things. Hey, whose responsibility is it in our relationship? Who do you feel should do the cooking, or who should do the cleaning, whose responsibility to do the laundry, and begin to speak on these things. If you can do it before you get into the house and your relationship and your marriage, moving in together, even better. But even if you haven't, and 5-7 years have gone by and you're just letting this kind of chip away at you, send this episode to your spouse.
Well, and whenever you're having these conversations, I think it's good to do it not in the moment. Not whenever you're frustrated and you're like, well, whose responsibility is it for this? Because it's not done. These are something that you want to talk about, not in the heat of the moment. And you don't want to ever come at it through accusing, especially coming at it with, you already know the answer. Let me ask the question and tell you what the answer is, right? It is
like a trap. You're
right. Yeah, you're wanting to have an open and honest conversation, and if you can do that, that's where you're going to see rewards from it. But if you come at it aggressively, or you come at it with already predetermined expectations, that's whenever you're going to get met with a wall of resistance, right? So we want to be able to come in this with an open mind, just say, hey, let's talk about some of these household things that we do around here. I just really, honestly, what are your thoughts on it? Like vacuuming the house. I mean, what do you feel like the expectation is here? Who do you think should really do that? Or, do you have any thoughts on that at all? Does it even bother you? You may live with someone who they don't care if the house gets vacuumed or not. They could care less. So they're not going to ever take initiative on vacuuming the house, right? And so, maybe you start filling that out and being like, really? So you don't even care? Why not? That doesn't bother you? And then now maybe they're opening up about their childhood or something like that, right? Some of these things could go deeper, and now you're having some of these deeper discussions and stuff of just why they feel that way, and why, just a lot of good things can start coming from it whenever you approach it with open minds. And like I said, not those predetermined expectations.
Yeah, and we always suggest when you come at it, sharing how you feel instead of telling the other person what they should be doing or how they should feel. So babe, like can we talk about like some of the things, some of the chores and just this mental load that I'm carrying around, because it's more than I can handle right now. It's like starting to stress me out, and I don't want to feel this way. I love you. I love, our family, and I want us to be able to, be on the same page. So I just need to kind of like blah and get this all out and see if there's an area that maybe we can come up with a new idea on how to move forward in this. And when you do it like that, it's like you're wanting their advice, you're seeking them, you're allowing them to have some input in it. And that's where it may be like y'all discuss it, and maybe that you bring the kids in. It might be time for them to start doing their own laundry.
Everything comes, this child should do that, this child should do that. And we're just delegating all of it to the kids.
That's why we had them, so that they could do the chores. And even that, like, you don't want to do that in a way where you're like, kids, sit down.
You're doing this now.
Yes.
Now they're, exhausted and frustrated and stuff.
So you want to do that, even like having them, after y'all discuss it, then having them come to the table. Like, hey, we've been talking about there's, the house and the needs of the house and how much, and I can't do it all. I'm trying. I wish I could. If I had all the time in the world just to do all of these things, then heck, I would do it. But I can't. I need y'all's help, and get them on the same page when it comes to that. And
then there are going to be different seasons and all that as well, right? And, like I'm thinking about us right now. We've hit the season to where I've become even more busy with what I'm doing now than I have been before. And so some of those chores, tasks, things that I've had on my plate, with the business, with household stuff, it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for me to be able to keep up with everything. And it's been big mental load, like stressing me out type stuff. So much that we've talked about it, and we're at a place to where it's like, okay, well, one of my responsibilities has always been to mow the yard. I always get out there and do that. And, summertime it comes, and, everybody knows you're out there once a week, if you live in a place where you have grass. So we're, I'm constantly just, it's hours of doing this on a weekend, and when I need to be doing other things. And so, we've talked through that. And so now we hire somebody, we're at a place to where it's made more sense for us to hire that out, to where now I get that time back to where I can pour that into something else. And so we kind of look at ways that we can do things like that as well. And kind of like with the meals, sometimes we'll look at meal prepping things to make it easier to where we're not having to think of what are we going to cook or whatnot.
We can have it delivered straight to the door.
It's got the recipe, and we just do this, and so it's also looking for, those can be through some of those communications, to where if you are just overloaded and overworked, you're trying to think outside of the box. How can we, knock some of this down, and talking through that. So if I know my wife, she's like, overstressed and overworked, she's communicating this with me. I'm like, okay, well, let's figure this out. Like how can we make this easier? What are some things that we could do, and y'all just work through it together.
Yeah. And then one last part of communicating these unspoken and spoken things that need to be talked about and divided. And Randall hit just a point on that earlier. And that is, you do come into your relationship with different expectations and what the household chores look like and what you grew up in. And I know for us, like, to me, what I consider clean is a different level than Randall considers clean, which is actually opposite of most, like, what you would consider female and male. But the household he grew up in the expectation of what clean looked like, and I grew up, like, in a filthy house. So when I look at my house, I'm like, it's good. It's clean. Like, this is nice. And he'll walk around and say things are filthy. And to me, filthy, I'm like, no, I know what filthy looks like. This is nowhere near filthy. And so when he uses that word, it's like a big trigger word for me when I'm like, you have no idea what filthy looks like, bro. And he's over here like, this does not look clean, woman. And he'll, like, even like he was saying vacuuming earlier, and it's like these look like, I mean, I could go weeks without vacuuming because I don't see the dirt. It's in the carpet, right? Whereas, or like the floor, he'll be like, it's filthy, it's sticky. And that I don't see it. It doesn't bother me. And so we're going to talk a little bit more of that, like going into part 2, but communicating those things with each other. Like, okay, this is what I need in this house. This is what makes me feel like comfortable. There was a long period of time when our house was filled with all the kids, and they are messy and dirty and make things sticky, and they like to sit in Randall's spot. That was his spot all the time. And
I don't understand that.
He got to a season where he would just go lock himself in the bedroom because he was doing schoolwork, and he just wouldn't be out in the house much. And he does not function well in a mess or in chaos. And so when stuff is all over the place, he needs to like go to his safe place.
Yeah. This is my safe place.
This is my safe space.
Well, even, what's funny about that is like we have a few animals, and, if it were up to me, we wouldn't have any, but it's just kind of the way the cookie has crumbled. It's not that we went out looking for them. They found us. And so like I don't let them in our room. Like I keep our door shut. It's like, this is our safe zone. Nobody, no animal comes in here. I don't want fur. I don't want none of that stuff. That way I can just come in here and be at peace. And so yeah.
And I don't, he's like, all he sees is hair flying everywhere. And I was like,
what do you mean?
I don't see it.
Like, didn't you see it when that cat scratched? It's like hair everywhere. It's like, oh my God, I'm breathing it. It's in my eyes.
And then he makes rules like no cat in the bedroom. So I have to always keep the bedroom door is always shut.
Yeah.
So that goes
unless if I go on vacation, then she doesn't always follow that rule, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Another story, another podcast, and another therapy session.
I get lonely. And scared. Anyways.
Number 2.
So part 2 of this, though, it goes along with that, is working in your strengths. So we do have certain strengths that come with our personalities and giftings that God has given us. And like Randall is a very detail-oriented person. So they're on a time like this. So he does really well doing our laundry. It's just something that was one of those things that fell in his lap early on in our marriage. He had half-day Fridays, and he just kind of took that on. On half-day Fridays, he would wash all of our clothes. And it's, been like 10 years later, and I love it. It's fantastic. And so I try to help out by washing clothes every once in a while. And I cannot see it to completion for the life of me. And he'll be like, he has these, outfits now, the shirts that get wrinkled or whatever. And I'll just be like, I'll just iron it because I just can't. He's like, but babe, if you just took it out of the washer and put it in the dryer right when it got finished, or if you just took it out of the dryer and folded it right away.
I figured it all out, like the laundry, and I know how to I like things folded and things like that, and it's just part of my personality and my organization. Yeah, he was just fold his
underwear.
Yeah, I'm like, babe, no, you don't do it that way. It's like, this is the way the stores do it. This is the way you fold a towel. I don't,
and I'm like, that doesn't
it's just
make
sense. It doesn't make sense.
Your
it doesn't matter.
crotch is hanging out. Hide your crotch. He's like, no, it's just better this way. And he tries to do it in such a loving way too. And it just, I can't. Even when I try to see it all the way to completion, and it's still like, to me, it's wrinkly. And he's like, well, you probably just left it in the dryer too long. And I'm like, no, I promise. This time I didn't. And it's just, this is a task that he is good at. So even when I try to be helpful, it's just something that it comes more natural to him. Or there are certain things that I am better equipped at, like if it comes to running the kids around from task to task. It would drive him insane if he had to do a whole 45-minute loop to get the kids to school in the morning. It wouldn't make sense. Like, let's not do that. Let's just change them schools.
Let's change schools. Let's get them all here.
Yeah, or I'm picking up extra kids along the way and taking them to school too. And I don't mind. It's time that I was getting to conversate with them in the car and stuff. There's just different parts that are in us. It's like, okay, well, what do you not hate doing? Like, is there a chore that you actually don't mind? I have some friends that love mowing their lawn. They live on some acreage. They find so much peace getting on the riding lawnmower, and that's probably part of it. They're on a riding lawnmower, not a push mower. But they put on a podcast or some music and in their ears, and they just go out there and they mow for 3 hours, and they just love it. And I'm like, y'all are dumb. Or I have friends that like to go grocery shopping, and that is their time to get away, and they go in the store and they like to look at all the stuff. And I'm like, no, why would anybody want to do that? And there's things Randall and I both hate. Mm-hmm. Neither one of us want to go to the grocery store. Neither one of us like doing yard work. We don't like gardening. We don't like doing like projects around the house. And so we got to discuss these things, and we got to find, okay, what do you like to do? Okay, why don't you do that? Or what do you tolerate? Yeah. Maybe you don't love it.
Well, and even like the groceries, throwing an example out there. So we hate going grocery shopping. We hate going in the grocery store for multiple reasons. So now we do the online thing. We sit there and we do the whole online shopping cart, and then we run and go pick it up. And that's works for us. That's our thinking outside of the box now that we have that capability. And so we're always trying to look for ways like that to help us out on the things that we don't like doing. And then, if you've got a passion for one thing, then you do that, and then vice versa.
Do those, and then there's just some things that have to be done, and nobody cares about doing them. And
like dishes.
So my tip for that is if you can couple it with something that you do like doing. So like my routine is typically like when I get in I just go outside of the house to work a couple hours a day. I come in, I put on a podcast, and I listen to that. That's my time to listen to the podcast guilt-free while I'm standing in front of the dishes, just washing away my life, right? So finding ways that you can like put them together. I hate cleaning the bathroom, but if I have a good story to listen to, then I want to be in that bathroom cleaning it because I want to get more into there. So first work in those strengths, and then divide up those chores and figuring out, okay, this has to be done. So how can we either hire it out, get creative or whatever, so that we're not having so much pressure on us and we do have more time to do the things that we want to do. And then the very last part is you're on the same team. Remember that. So y'all sit down, you communicate, you discuss what needs to be done, who's going to do what. And then don't pull, and everybody loves Raymond, when they get back from vacation and the luggage gets brought halfway up the stairs and the suitcase gets sat there, and now they're both having a standoff for over a week, I believe it is, of who's going to take the luggage the rest of the way up the stairs. And they're actually, I think they even put something in the luggage, right?
Yeah, it was like a food or something.
A fish or something that would stink. And they're just, both of them expect the other person to do it. And maybe you came up with this game plan and you're like, he said he was going to take out the trash and it's been 3 days and it's overflowing and he still hasn't taken out the trash. I'm not taking out the dang trash. It's his job. And yes, there may be times in life where you just feel like you need to prove a point. But most of the time, doing that is never going to end the way that you want it to. The old saying, you catch more flies
with honey
than with vinegar, right? Mm-hmm. Or something like that. Finding, okay, he forgot to take the trash out. He knows that it's his thing to do. I have a moment. Let me just go ahead and do this. And maybe when things aren't as high stress, be like, hey, I've noticed that, I was trying to run out the door and the trash still didn't go out. It was trash day. What we talked about last time, it's not working. Like, what can we do to make sure the trash gets taken out? And like, again, not on that high stress area, but remembering this is your house. This is your family. You're on the same team. You're wearing the same jerseys, not different polish and no polish like me over here. And becoming flexible with that. And if that plan did not work, coming back to the drawing board and saying, okay, that didn't work. This still has to be done. What can we do so that it does work?
And really, if you need some real good marriage advice, you brought up Everybody Loves Raymond. So watch that show and do the opposite, and you're good. And you're good. So, there you go. Great marriage tips right there.
I thought you were going to give the old marriage advice that was given to us at one of our groups one time, and that was when you're arguing about stuff, just take off all your clothes.
Take off all your clothes, and then
And
it's
then
hard to argue
see if the
that
argument continues, or maybe you just move on into something else a little more enjoyable.
That's right. So seriously, these things, they can either break you down or they can make you stronger. And these are just, you don't want that, right? You want to be coming together and working together. You are on the same team. And whenever you start acting like it, it's now I'm looking at my spouse saying, how can I help? Instead of, why didn't you do this? And y'all both can start approaching it from that standpoint. Now you can come have some really good conversations, start talking about what's important to you and what's not important to you, and y'all start working through those. Yeah. And you create a really good plan, start making a game plan from that, and boom, there you are. You are on the same team winning at life. Winning.
Or is it this?
You get the big W. The big W.
What's the sports winning? This?
Well, it can be either one.
Oh,
either
okay.
one. You can do that, or several ways that you can throw up a W. So but that's what you're going to be doing, is throwing up some W's in life, and that's where you want to be. So listen, we love you guys. To all the B-Fams out there, continue loving on your family, continue growing stronger together, and we will see you on the flip side later.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has been a blessing and encouraged your family journey.
Make sure you stay connected with us and join our weekly Blended Family newsletter. We send an email out every Friday morning full of support and encouragement.
And when you join, we also want to give you a free gift, so go get yours today. The link is in the show notes below.
Have an amazing day. Remember to enjoy the journey with your blended family, and we'll see you on the next episode.